Tonight, welcome to Targeted Massachusetts Northeast Conference. My name is Frank Allen, and I will be your host this evening. The views and opinions expressed on our show are not necessarily the views or opinions of myself, Targeted Massachusetts, or Stars International. And good evening. Starting about 3 minutes early, and I'll give you a brief summary of what I'd like to go over. Tonight, we're going to have a special guest, and that's Kim Straub. And she was in front of a police station. You all may know the story. And she was passing out flyers. Innocent, not doing anything, not provocative, just passing out flyers. And a police officer came out and asked her if she heard voices. That's the first thing he asked her. Then he proceeded to ask her if she had a gun. She says, "Yes, I do. That's my right." And then he cuffed her and took her away for no apparent reason. So she's going to be our guest tonight, and she's going to tell you all the details and the whys and the why nots of what happened. And I've been wanting to get her on here for a couple of weeks now, but she just spoke on Derek's program, and it was too soon. But right now is perfect because we have so many TIs. We have a TI in Illinois who was jailed. We have Tyler Whitman, who was put in a facility for nothing, and his family is now taking all his money. He's right out of the Air Force. Came out of the Air Force, and they had him committed. And there are so many others that the same thing has happened to. And we had a gentleman on here. His first name was Paul, and his mother was committed, and I don't know the details on that. And we had Melissa, who was a regular on the call. She was out in front of a convenience store, and they grabbed her up right there and said, "Well, you're coming with us." And for no reason at all. No reason. But her sister, who has no right to do so, called the police. So family members are behind some of this. Police officers are behind some of this. And it's time to expose it. And we've had enough of this. I mean, you can walk out in the street, start passing out flyers, each one of you, and you could be arrested for no reason. Unconstitutionally detained in a facility for 72 hours or longer if you are in the least bit belligerent. So I'm so glad Kim was able to spend the time with us, because this is an issue that's been plaguing TIs for a long time. And tonight, she'll be able to expose the details and let us know the outcome, how it was left, if she is pursuing a legal action against that police department under Articles 1 through 4 of our Constitution, our amendments, Bill of Rights. And this has been happening, as I've said, and it's time to bring it out into the light. And we've been in touch with news people who don't believe it's right. And they are waiting until we have the Holy Grail to pass on. And I think we'll get it here shortly. I don't think too much more time is going to have to be spent because the media is doing it for us. The media is exposing everything in Cuba. The media is exposing everything in China. Yet the U.S. is still backing out from under it, coming up with excuses. We have renowned scientists all over the world and all over the country who are coming out with research. And one of those is Beatrice Guillaume. She was scheduled to be on our show, and she feared for her position at California University, San Diego. She heads a research group there who is deeply embedded in the physics and the reasoning behind these attacks that we endure. And I hope there'll come a time when she will feel free enough to come forward and give us an evening of Beatrice Guillaume and what she knows about all this. Because after speaking with her and sending emails back and forth, she is very, very much at the top of the list for people to come forward. But there are so many universities that are putting out small papers that have identified that this is a radio frequency attack, and the people who are in the U.S. that have come back, the diplomats, are still being attacked in the same manner in which we are. So nothing has changed. It's just that we have some really high-ranking people that were handpicked by the United States government diplomats. So we'll see how that works out. And we have some people that picked up some radiation triage cards under Linda C's advisement. And I think it's a very, very good idea. One of our guests, Angela, wrote me an email and asked me how to read it. And what you do is you have to immediately keep it out of heat and UV/sunlight. It's something that has to be worn like around your neck, that doesn't see any sunlight or any type of light, or it will be destroyed. But the way you read it is you match up the colors from the top bar to the bottom bar. Like it says 250 and there's 4,000 under it, and there's 100 and there's 2,000. So you're going to start reading the 50 against the 1,000, and there is a reference point, a color that represents 500. But if you get the limit, I believe, is 100 microsieverts per year. And this limit, if it is exceeded, will kill you. And it will cause cancer. It will cause disorientation. It will cause a number of different things. But this card, I think, is important. The type of radiation that emitted blends in many ways with the radiation that we get. And the reasoning behind that is it's radiation. Where does the word come? Radio. Radio frequency. Radiation. Plutonium radiates a frequency. Okay? And lead is one of the things that will stop it. Lead and concrete. So it occurred to me that we should try working with lead. Now, I've been trying to grasp the time to do it, but if any of you know a metallurgist in the area or a welder or somebody who fabricates in metal, just have them fabricate a small lead hat, if you will, that covers the back of your head, and then coat it with epoxy so that the lead will not contaminate your system. You don't want to get lead poisoning and keep the signals out. But the thought occurred to me. And
you know what, Frank, this is Lorraine.
Hi, Lorraine.
Hi, how are you? My husband was, well, he was many things, but he was a top nuclear welder.
Okay.
For the power plants and the nuclear reactors. Okay. Yep. So he's one of the best welders in Massachusetts. So he may want to talk to you on that. Okay.
Okay, I'd love that. That'd be great. Because I know for a fact that they are the best welders because their work is inspected probably between, 5 and 20 times by various different inspectors. And the way they do it is they put a radiation block behind it, and they use a detector with a screen on the outside to see if the weld is cracked in any way, and they see if the weld is strong and the penetration is correct.
One of the reasons why he feels he's in this program, he's working for a huge company in Boston, and one of the biggest, and they were building a bridge, and he was inspecting all the welds on the bridge, and he said, it's dangerous. It's one of the worst welds I've ever seen. He wasn't on the job, and he called in an inspector, and they said, oh, don't do this. This will cost us $2-3 million to fix. He said, this bridge is going to collapse. And when the inspector came in, he said no, because every single weld is really pretty bad. And my husband had to go and bring in a whole crew to fix the whole thing, and he feels that's when the attack was probably against us,
That's very
but he's quite knowledgeable on all of this, and it'd be a good thing. He's going to retire in December, so he will have plenty of time to work on these projects,
That's fantastic. And I mentioned on our last call your research and work on WikiLeaks, and they are.
And I will. I'd like to take 5 minutes if I could.
Yes, please do. Please do.
What I could. Yeah, it's quite disturbing. Several people have tried to do this, and they were blocked by the Wikipedia. And for 30 days at a time, they were getting harassing calls to their home and emails and told to back off, this type of thing. But some of the important things that I did find was during the MK Ultra situation, they did find out MK Ultra was really the Psychiatric Association of Canada and the United States was funded by the CIA to progress the remote neutral monitoring studies and technology development. So you've got the U.S. and Canada Psychiatric Association. So they were getting paid for this in the 60s, 70s. We do have the church. Hello? Okay. The church hearings, you can definitely go on to the internet and find President Clinton apologizing for MK Ultra. There's actually a whole video of him doing that. I went back to Dennis Kucinich, which was the Space Preservation Act. of 2001, HR 2977. One of the reasons why he retired was when he was trying to put this legislature forward, he had family members murdered within a week. James Walbert, I don't really take too seriously. Nobody has real proof of this. I honestly feel that he fabricated, I'm not going to say fabricated it, but he went to court, and I know he, in detail, I know he went through an awful lot like me. You know, he hired a private investigators, all this kind of stuff. But it just came down to a defendant not showing up to court. That's the only reason why he won it. And then he went crazy on the internet and went nuts and, you know, tried to make himself a superstar, you know, with this, you know, electronic harassment. I don't take his case all that seriously. There is a great site, and it's called "You're Not My Big Brother," and it's awesome. He's one of the men that actually went through and tried to fight this, and you can fight it. You know, the only thing I would say is I would recommend for everybody to stop trying to fight this alone. And if we're going to put some kind of a case together, any little thing together, you know, do it through your site. You know, put your names down, and you know, if everything's agreed upon, you can send it forward, regardless if it's a senator or a House or, you know, state representative. Don't do it alone. You know, I think we need to do it as a group. I really truly do. And there's other information. You know, the case of Dr. David Kelly from the Michigan laws that, of course, they were all founded by him. He was murdered. So I'm just saying it's very disturbing. I do know in Canada, the Stein Law Group, after the victims of MK Ultra in the 50s, 60s, 70s were pretty much murdered, Stein did win a huge suit. Not a huge. It was $100,000 per family of the victims that, you know, were, you know, either hurt by this or murdered by this, and they were awarded those funds. And that case was against the CIA, and they did win it. The whole problem with the CIA, not the CIA, the church hearings, they were able to establish all of this. Their biggest problem was they failed to enact a law, so they didn't do it again. And there's more, you know, but those are the basic things that I did come up with. They're credible, you know, they're in the Senate archives as far as the church hearings, pretty much all over the internet on the other things that I did mention. As I said, I don't like the Wahlberg case. I studied it. I don't care for it at all. But the other ones are credible. So if I can put together a paper and just go a little bit more with this, I'll write a complete, you know, surmise of what I think, you know, could go against Wikipedia, whether they're going to accept it or not. But if they do accept it, at least it's from a group and a credible group and not one person, okay? And the good thing is the Psychiatric Association was involved, and they did prove that they did take funds from the CIA.
Do you think it's a good idea to write a letter to the CEO and include articles, which I can send to you, all the articles? I have every one. And include those articles in the request to have that changed. And mention to them that the diplomats are still being affected by this. It's not something that stopped when they left China.
Well, you know what? When this whole thing came out with Cuba, okay, the first thing I said was, people better be really, really smart about this because this is all about us. I had a friend of mine, an old dear friend, who heard it on television, and she said to me, she yelled out to her husband, "This is what Lorraine is going through. We've known each other since we were 12 years old." And you know what? It's just like I never let go of Cuba because this is the only thing that probably will save us unless Karen Stewart comes through with what she claims she's going to do. But this is the most important thing. And that's really sad that this has hit the media and these people are still being attacked too.
I
What is
am,
this? I mean,
I know. I'm
yeah.
working my way slowly towards the diplomats. I'm trying to find out how I can not get at
The
them.
name?
Yeah, I already have one that I'm diligently working at, and I will
Oh, good.
will make contact. And I don't care who's listening. I don't care
Yep.
who
You
says
can't.
you get off the phone or we're going to come get you. Come get me. Come on. I'm sitting right here. I
Right.
don't like threats and I don't like what's going on, and I'm sick and tired of it. I went
Right.
through a medical procedure today and I had to just about, fight the electronic attacks off with a stick. I mean, it was like,
Horrible.
whenever you have some place to go, that's when they're on you.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I'll give you some good news, which is very interesting.
Great.
And I hope you're okay, Frank, because you're so dear to all of us.
Thank you.
We had $1 million house across the marsh. My house is somewhere, and then we overlook a beautiful marsh onto the ocean, but it's miles. It's like a mile and a half. And this house went up, and it was completely. I only have so much room in the winter, in the summer. You know what I'm saying? And during the winter, I get a full view. But this house went up. It was a multi-million-dollar home, and it was aimed at my home. And the lights went on, and when the lights went on, we were attacked, okay? 7 days a week, okay? And we would know when those lights went on. We knew something was going to happen. And that house went up for sale, was sold in 1 week. I used to watch that house because I had property that my parents owned down there. And I would see people walking in there, not normal residents as far as like summer rentals or normal people in shorts and T-shirts. They were dressed in business clothes. And they would wave to me as I drove by. And that house has been sold. Another house that I feel on the road was also aiming lights at my home has been sold. So I feel something is happening, and I just have a funny feeling these people know this is going to be coming to an end, and they're getting the hell out of here. I hope so.
That's what's happening because
Yeah.
the government will inevitably use them as fall guys, and
Right.
they're all going to get imprisoned, and
Absolutely.
that's the way it will go down, and the government will stay totally innocent, just like the trade towers. So,
well, it's funny. When I was staying down at that cottage, I moved out of my home at one point for 3 years and moved down to an oceanfront cottage. That was my parents, and we literally moved, okay, because of the harassment and everything else. And there were these kids that moved into this cottage every September for 1 month. There were 2 cottages away from where we were. And they would get up in the morning and start taking pictures of the house, all this stuff. And I heard one kid say, hey, she can't do a damn thing to us because we have amnesty. Well, my attitude is, my message back to them is, guess what? You won't have amnesty because the people over you are going to be taken down first. So sell your homes and go to, Ecuador. Go anywhere you want to. Because the best thing you can do is go to Europe or any other foreign country to hide. And I honestly believe they do get the message now. I do believe whatever is happening is going to happen in the next 2 months. And I do believe they're making preparations to. I find it very hard to believe that this house, multi-million-dollar house that was built 2-3 years ago, is now up and was sold in less than a week. The other house that was pointing in my direction now there. We have another house that was constantly just beams of light against my house, way to the left. That's gone. So it's something's going on. Something good is going on.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
As the year ends, you are going to see some dramatic changes before the year ends. And that's a promise. You'll see all kinds of things happening. And it's everything is basically falling into place as I have said right along. The only thing that I couldn't foresee in this case is the diplomatic incidents. And that just propelled the whole thing that much quickly.
Right.
And I don't know, I've never seen anything progress so fast. It's the communication, it's the research. We have people like Miranda A., who was on the call. She sends me pounds of research every day. And she is diligently working. We have other researchers like yourself. You're researching laws to get into Wikipedia and say, hey, we represent a lot of people, Wikipedia. There's going to be enough of us found before this is over to be our own, let me see, what's the right word? Our own voting body when it comes to electing a president. That's how many TIs I think there are.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot
We're
of TIs.
We're enough to be an army, Frank.
Yes. No.
We're enough to be an army. We really are.
Yeah, we have to.
And I think we can't think we're alone. We're strong. We're big. We got some very intelligent people, very nice people. There are some people that can't help themselves, but they do whatever they can.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
and we've got direction, and we got somebody who's so dedicated like you. And I just feel it's coming to an end. I really do feel that way. I feel good about it.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping to have Paulo Fiera from the UK on as a guest here shortly. And I think he's been listening in because I see a couple of UK numbers. One might be Richard Peel, and I think the other one's Paulo. And he's the leader of the movement in the UK, the leader. And they kick down doors. I'm telling you, these people are militant. And they are going up against MI5 and MI6, and they don't give a damn. And if you've listened to any of Catherine Horton's speeches lately, she's totally gone militant, and I'll tell you the reason.
Yep.
They're hitting her so badly that she's putting out a video a day, I think now, and she wants to get the word out. And some of the stuff that she says is the gospel, some is a little off, or it might not be off. See, every time I watch her video, I try and research what she's talking about. And one of the things was microsieverts. And I'm seeing those now on these radiation triage cards. So I'm trying to find the dividing line between where radio frequency from, we'll say, plutonium and microwave radiation from a satellite are similar or dissimilar. So if her readings are correct, she is getting totally destroyed by this, because I've seen what you were allowed, I think, 200 or 100 microsieverts per year, per day, I guess. And she's getting far more than that. I have to break the
Yeah, then
mask
about 4
down.
nights ago when I was researching this stuff, my eggs, my head felt like it was going to be scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
It was so bad. But I want to say two more things. I read something on Derek Robinson's website, and it was a woman who was very holistic, or I don't know what she was all about, but I read the whole thing, and she was saying, the best thing you can do is drink your own urine. People have to be really smart, and not do this kind of thing. Okay,
Yeah.
it's just
Right.
like foolishness, and
Yeah.
some people might believe that, and please don't ever do something like that. I mean, I'm surprised they even printed that. Honestly, it's just like, just don't do that. It's like medicinal. It isn't.
Yeah.
So and if I had my way, and I thought about this a long time ago, and if we had like some kind of a T-shirt or a uniform that we could wear 1 day or 2 days a week, I would wear it.
Well, you're going to
And
have one very shortly.
you'd see millions of people wearing it like 2-3 times a week. People would say, "What's that?" Seeing a lot of it.
Yeah, and we're seeing
So that we could be an army.
yes, we can. And there's more and more TI surfacing just in Massachusetts. You should see the list I got for Massachusetts. It'll knock you over. And
I believe it.
the Northeast region. And there are people that I've never heard of. And I'm sure that they haven't been to any meetings and they're just waking up. And I'm trying to see if we have any on the call yet. I'm not seeing any. But they're out there.
I was surprised when I had my petition out years ago. It grew, and I'm talking 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It grew to almost 400 and something, and I was surprised that I think 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 were their emails were masseducation.org. They were associated with colleges.
Yes.
And I did email every single person that I could, and they would never respond. But they were, pleading for help. Whether it was true or not, I don't know. But they were all different emails, and some were on the Cape, where I am, and many were in Boston. And yeah, it blows my mind that they could try and do this, and so we just got to keep working.
Yeah, I'd like to go to MIT again, and this time appeal to the students directly with like free T-shirts and whatnot. And, say to them, you're going to be the engineers of the future. And it's important that you know what the engineers of the past have done. And this is the kind of thing that we have to enlighten everyone. And the billboards are doing it. Word of mouth is going like wildfire. The UK has got the billboards up. And we have a billboard that just went down in, some junction in Arizona. And she emailed me, why is this down? Unfortunately, it came to its end of the contract. But
was it Arizona?
Yes, it was Arizona.
Yeah.
I think Apache Junction. That's what it was. Yep. So things are going well. Things are moving ahead. There is no stagnation that I've seen at all. The email is to the point where I can barely stay ahead of it now and working all the hours that I do. And it's fantastic to see people coming forward. The thing that I am not happy with is I send out hundreds and hundreds of newsletters, and I'm not seeing any of them opened. On my end, I can see whether you opened it, whether you read it, whether you just clicked through it, or whether you just discarded it. So, it's important to read these because the information is fresh. I'll give you an example. One article that I put in there came out before it came out in the press. So the articles that I put in there are absolutely really fresh and brand new. And I have a lot of news sources, uh, like The Hill and like Before It's News. I mean, I get, clips from all of these news people. Plus, I get clips from, other TIs that are out there researching. And it's fantastic to see all the participation. And everybody is really getting together. They're starting to trust people again. And we have people across the country as well that, I speak to. And they are starting to trust again. And they're looking for avenues to help and be activists, And there are others that have been really beaten down bad. I'll give you an example. Arkansas. I can't think of the girl's name now. But she's been really trashed. She just lost her grandmother, and but she's a real great researcher. We used to work on Sundays together. Angel and myself and her. And see, every time I try to come up with a name, they sit on it. So, I'm not familiar with how they do that yet, but I will, because they just scramble everything to the point where, I've gone into Walmart and not known why I was there.
Yeah. Well, I had for the first time these punks, and you can always tell what a perp is. They drive the worst car in the world. It's like, what junkyard did you go to, And I had 6 kids. They were kids. And they followed me down to the store. And then they followed me back. And then they went around the cul-de-sac, and they went as slow as they possibly could to try and intimidate me. And I could see them, and I was watching them. And I just said to my husband, I think I'm just going to call the Bourne Police. Because as far as I'm concerned, I think they're casing my house, And, of course, I don't know if people have a problem, but my house is recorded 24/7. They have a recorder and a microphone on my home 7 days a week, 24/7. So if you want to go around my home and go as slow as possible as you can, I will call the police. And I'll say there are 6 punks in this crappy car, and they're going around my home, and I think they're going to break into my home. And that's the kind of thought you have to do with these people, because they're that stupid. And, I don't have an issue, bringing the police down. I try not to bother them. But you know what? When somebody wants to do that to me, I will do it right back to them. You've got to be strong about that. So, it's just like, I think they're just desperate at this point. They're just such losers. And I can't wait for this to happen. And I feel good about it. So everybody hang in there, because I had the worst week last week, too, and Frank had a rotten day the other day, and it's just like, it's just going to happen. It just can't go on forever.
Yeah, today was no prize either, but we're pulling through.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm always fine. I have to be.
Always, but I'm glad you are.
Well, getting together with you guys is really means a lot to me, because it helps me and it helps you, and it's just the communication is fantastic. It's open and honest. We don't have, every once in a while we might get someone who's out of sorts for that night, but you have to look at what they're going through. You don't know what they're going through. So, just give somebody a few chances, and usually they come around. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah. I know.
But yeah, to get back.
I did get to talk to that senator friend of mine. I didn't want to tell you that.
Oh, great.
Real quickly, I ran into him at the store. He, of course, is going up for election again tomorrow.
Yeah.
and he's all smiles. And I just told him, I said, you know what? I know you've helped me out. He goes, Lorraine, he goes, it's definitely a criminal matter. He goes, I just can't do this on my own.
Yeah.
He goes, because it doesn't, I'm just not in, you have to go. And he did that. He already did that for me. And all we heard was, it's just not in our jurisdiction. I mean, the whole thing. But I think if we got enough people to complain to him, he would definitely take it on. Okay.
All right.
He's a good guy. I've known him since I was a kid. So.
Okay. I'm hoping Kim is in the audience right now.
Okay.
I hope. Kim, you here?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. The floor is yours.
Okay. 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 Hello. Yeah, I was just waiting. So I was just listening to and getting everything out of it, enjoying the conversation. So.
Yes.
But yeah. Go ahead.
I brought up, I don't know whether it was before you came on or not, but I brought up the fact that, TIs like yourself have been taken against their will, against their constitutional rights, against all the rights. 1 through 4 in the Bill of Rights, taken right down. I'm going to start carrying the Constitution with me, or the 10 amendments at least, in my back pocket, because you never can
Just to remind everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Floor's yours. If you want me to help and interview, or if you just want to speak your mind, you can make your choice.
Okay. Well, either way, if you have a question or you want me to elaborate or on something, just let me know.
Sure.
And I guess I'll just go through the day and how it all happened, unless you want me to try to shorten it up or however you want me to do it.
No, let it all flow out, the whole thing. Take as much time as you want. The floor is yours until you are through. There is no limit on your time.
Okay. Well, let's see. On October the 1st, I started the day off. I went to go get a CD of my CT scan. I was trying to get some evidence, and I picked it up, and then I was going to go to the police station. I was also, everywhere I go, I hand out flyers. I downloaded flyers from the FFTI website. Or they have a flyer with a billboard. It's real pretty, you may have it on yours, or everybody may have it on their website. But I just went there, and it has a great picture of the billboard with the eyes up the top, and then down it has his face that's burned. So I just printed those off, and I take them wherever I go. I try to pass them out and to people, and so I had those with me, and then I had, of course, things that you don't want to leave at home, and if you know what I mean, you just want to take with you. So I had a bunch of stuff, and so everywhere I go, I get stalked by people with license plates that say UO in the license. Okay, and on my email, my Gmail account, it starts off. It says /U /O/ in there. So they do this all the time. They'll when someone's car is dirty, they'll write on the window UO. That's how they do that. They do that. I was a whistleblower, and at my previous employment, and so anyway. So this is what I get, and then so I took some pictures of I had 3 of the pictures. I had one of the old-timey cameras that have film in them, because I've had problems with my iPhone photos being deleted, or it seems like something's wrong with the license when I go back and view it, or I'll have problems. I get tampering with my photos. So I had an old-timey camera, and I got some great pictures and some pictures of the driver. So I was really happy about that. We had some theft. I was going to go to the police department and report the theft. So I drove to the police department, and while I was there, I passed out, or I requested to speak with a detective to do my theft report, file my theft report. And while I was there, I handed a flyer to the dispatcher, and I handed one or two. There were two clerks in the station, and I handed them a flyer. And I think that was kind of bold. Looking back at that was a little bold. But anyway, so I waited for the police to come, and normally it would be one policeman that would come up, and the other one was also, I requested it. I had been through this before, and it just hadn't, and it wasn't successful in it. So I asked, and then he said, well, he needed to ask me some questions. And so I started talking about theft, and he said, well, he asked me about my mental health history, and I said, my mental health history is my private information. And I said, can we get back to the theft report? And then he said, I tried to talk about the theft, and then he said, do you own a gun? And I said, yes, I own a gun at home, and it's my constitutional right. And then I said, can we talk about the theft report? And then the next thing I know, I don't even know how he came from behind and started handcuffing me. I felt like I had been jumped. And I don't even know. All I know is they have good training, evidently, in doing that stuff. But anyway, I didn't even know. I felt like I'd been jumped, and I resisted. And so I guess I resisted the arrest. At that time, as soon as I figured out what he was doing, I submitted. And then they took me out of the police station and frisked me and took my belongings and went through them and put me in a police car. The windows were not rolled down, and I had to sit there I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes with the windows up, and it was hot. And then he came and rolled down the window just halfway, like I was, a dog in there. And then he got in the car, or he called my husband, and he wouldn't let me talk to him. And he was telling him, I could tell he was saying stuff that wasn't true, and I was yelling because he was outside that he was lying. He's not telling you the truth. I did nothing. And I was yelling, and all I could think about is I need to shine light on what has just happened. So I was yelling that, and which wasn't, probably looking back, the best thing. But anyway, so then he gets in the car, and he says he's going to take me to Lakeside. And I said, why are you taking me to Lakeside? And he wouldn't answer me. And I said, you're going to have to lie to them because I'm not admittable. I'm a registered nurse. So I knew that, you can't admit somebody unless they meet criteria. And so I said, what are you going to lie and say? I said, I'm not homicidal, suicidal, or psychotic. I'm not a harm to myself or others. I said, what are you going to say? And then he wouldn't answer me. And the whole time I just kept repeating it. And then he took me to Lakeside, and I'm still handcuffed. And he brings me to a chair. They come out, and then he starts, he goes into a room and starts talking to them. And then they come out, and he wouldn't unhandcuff me for a while, but then they finally did and told me to sit in this other room alone, or there was somebody in there, but watching me, I guess. And then I looked through the window and I saw him talking to everybody, and they were going through my belongings. And the next thing I know, I guess a nurse practitioner comes in and starts asking me questions. And I told her the medications I was on, I was my blood pressure medicine. I was very coherent, told her, everything. I made sure to tell her I wasn't homicidal, suicidal, psychotic, or harm to myself or others. And the next thing I know, they admit me. And the person that did the first signature listened to the policeman, Officer Hubbard, his lies, and she signed and did not even assess me. So she was a social worker that had a certification, and I guess, to commit people. I don't know. I haven't looked it up exactly. I need to do that. But she was the first signature, I guess, and then the nurse practitioner was the next one. And then I was, I did overhear the policeman say that he wanted me on the East unit, which was the most acute for people that are very psychotic, grossly psychotic. And he did that. This was kind of, I guess, like a punishment thing, is what I believe. And so, of course, he wanted me on the unit he thought that I would not want to be on. And then every person I talked to, I wouldn't sign anything. I said I don't belong here. I don't know what the policeman said, but I have no right. I shouldn't be here. Well, then I guess it was, I think, in the wee hours of the morning or something, I talked to a nurse, and she said that I asked her why I was there and that I had a right to know why I was there. And she told me that the policeman said that I said I was going to shoot up the government, that I had a weapon, and that I owned a gun, and that I was stalking somebody and taking pictures. Okay. Which they reversed that on me because I was being stalked and I was taking pictures. But anyway, and so that I was, a total fabrication of, and he said that I had been calling the police station numerous times, bothering them, which I never called them. And so there's recordings of your phone calls, so that can easily be proved. And also, I know they videotape inside the police station. So the videotape would prove that, how I was, totally in control. I wasn't doing anything. And they may even have audio inside the police station, I'm hoping. So anyway, so that, I can prove that I never said anything like that. And so anyway, so I ended up being at the mental health facility for, let's see, I pleaded my case to every single person I saw. I just kept thinking, I've just got to talk to everybody and let everybody know that this isn't true, which hindsight, I probably shouldn't have been so zealous about that. But anyway, I told the doctor, the psychiatrist, I shouldn't have been there. He said he didn't want to hear it, basically. And by Wednesday, I was admitted on. I was brought there around 4:30 or 4 o'clock on Monday, the 1st. Then by that Wednesday, the doctor, the psychiatrist, told me that I would be going to court on the following Monday, which was totally wrong, because when they commit you, they take all of your rights away. They deem that you cannot that you cannot make judgment calls for yourself. You're not capable, and so they have to make all your judgment calls for you. So they take away all your rights, and they're supposed to give them back to you, make you voluntary as soon as possible, as soon as you're able to. And they need to assess you every day to see how your status is. Well, by telling me on Wednesday that I would be going before the court on Monday, basically that's fraud, because they're going to charge. I have Medicare. They're going to charge Medicare for those days. I mean, he's going to charge them regardless. You're going to be there. So that's not right. And so then I started writing. As soon as I got there, I started writing grievance complaints. I thought, if I'm a big nuisance and writing all the, I wanted to write down all, how I was unjustly, admitted and being treated. So I just started writing grievance reports, and that is bothersome to them because they have to address every one of them. But anyway, and it goes up higher. People see them. So I wrote up that, that this wasn't right, yada, yada, yada. And I called Dr. Millicent Black, and I called Lorraine, and I called my husband, of course. They didn't let me talk to my husband for like a whole day. And I when I was on the unit, I called the patient advocate. I called a bunch of people, but or I had my husband call some people, and then Gloria called, and of course Dr. Millicent Black Church Refuge from the Storm said prayers for me and everything. I really appreciate everybody's support. And then let's see, I think it was Thursday or Friday. My husband had to go out of town right away, so he wasn't even in town. He had to fly to New York, and that had been planned, and he had business there in New York, so he wasn't even there to help me, physically or anything. So I mean, to do much for me. And then Thursday or Friday, Skizit and Neil from Citizens Against Harmful Technologies and Derek, I had called Derek and told him about it. They wrote a note and faxed it to the facility. The facility also is Lakeside Behavioral Health. It's on Brunswick. It's in Memphis, Tennessee. So I wanted to also say that. But anyway, they faxed just information about my rights and to let them know that I knew my rights. And then they wrote some other things, basically that they were available. If I went to court, they could be available and everything. And it was just wonderful to have that. And then let's see what else. So then on Saturday, the doctor came in and told me that he was going to discharge me on Monday. And maybe I raised such a ruckus, or I don't really know. But anyway, and I think also, I believe prayer. I believe everybody helps. And so then Sunday night, I was at talking to the nurse, and they said that I was on it's not a docket, but it's a list to go to court. So then I thought, what is going on? Because everybody had lied to me. I mean, I had the police lied about me. I just didn't know what to believe at this point. And so I was really upset. Sunday night was really hard because I thought I needed to prepare and in case I had to go before the judge. And what I was the most fearful of is I knew that obviously I wasn't, any of those things, psychotic, suicidal, a danger to myself or others, or homicidal. And I knew that I was coherent and I could speak to him fine. I was just worried that the psychiatrist would, I didn't know if the judge would just side with the psychiatrist or if he kind of was, in his, I guess the term is in his back pocket or whatever. And so I was fearful that I wouldn't get a judge that would be honest about everything. And then I also knew that while I was there, I knew that they were charting things that probably they exaggerated if they were and or told stories. I'm going to get the medical record this week. But anyway, so I'm sure that there were stories or, they exaggerated and everything. At one point, I immediately asked to talk to the administration and the nurse supervisor and everybody. One time, they brought me in a room, so I guess we could talk privately. And I was sitting on the doctor's examination table with my hands in my lap. And of course, I was arguing that I didn't need to be here. I wanted to leave. This was not right. And they told me, what are you saying? I mean, and how could they say that? I wasn't even on my feet. And of course, I was trying to get my story across that I didn't need to be there. And I was probably very assertive and trying to plead my case. But so, in other words, they could put anything in the record they wanted to. They could say I was threatening. The more I begged to, whatever it was, talk to my husband like in the first 24 hours. They could say I was intrusive. They could say anything they wanted to, really, in the medical record. And so, pretty much from the beginning to the end, I felt like I had. I mean, it was really a horrible experience because there was you couldn't say or do anything to explain anything. And so anyway, about the medication though, he ordered me a sleep medication called trazodone, and I didn't want to take it because it made me sick. And finally, by the Wednesday, I was like, okay, maybe I need to comply. Well, I talked to a nurse that I knew, and she said, you need to just comply. You need to comply, and that's how you're going to get out of here the sooner, is just comply. Well, that means, take your medications, everything that he orders, everything. And it probably meant that I wouldn't be, trying to talk to the nurse supervisor and administration every day, which is what I was doing. And then, so by Wednesday night, I thought, okay, well, maybe I should take the trazodone. So I took it, and of course, the next day I was sick, and I decided that's it. And I said, I'm not taking it. And then he came in and asked me. He changed the medication. I said, I'm not taking it. And then when he came in on Monday to discharge me, he walked in the room, and I turned my back on him because nothing I said. I just acted like I'm going to pretend you're not even there because I was just so discouraged. And he walked in and he said, how are you doing? And I said, well, I'm excited to see my husband. And then he said, well, how are you doing? And I said, I'm doing the same I was before I got here. And anyway, he discharged me, but I could not. A nurse told me if I didn't sign this form, to go voluntary is what he said. I couldn't be discharged. And I did know that. I mean, they're not supposed to take you from involuntary and discharge you because involuntary is supposed to be a serious thing when you take somebody's rights away completely from them. And so then you go voluntary, and then you can sign yourself out. Well, he told me I had to sign this form, and it said that it was consent to treat and consent for financial liability and everything. And I just signed it because I just wanted to get out of there. And then we drafted a letter and sent it certified and delivered it the next day, saying that I was in duress when I signed that, and I was threatened. I couldn't leave, which I was by the nurse, Nurse Lee, that I could not leave if I didn't sign that. So we did that, and then in the meantime, though, I asked for all my belongings to go to my husband because I had, as TIs know, they have evidence and they don't want to leave it at home sometimes. So I had evidence with me and other things with me, and I had some jewelry on me, and so they gave my husband my jewelry and my cash and my credit cards and that sort of thing, but they kept my flyers and my medical evidence, my medical CDs, everything that I carried with me so I could not have it at home. They kept there in security, and they did not give it to my husband. And it just was it was like they decided what they were going to keep to go through, and you know, the valuables. They wanted my evidence and stuff, so they kept that. And then, of course, some of my evidence was not there when I picked up or when my husband picked up my belongings. And so anyway, but I mean, so anyway, that's how that went. But so I'm trying to find legal representation. I've not been fortunate with that. I didn't actually know how to categorize this. What had happened is I had tried to get legal advice before all this on the whole, you know, the last 3 years since the targeting started. The whole issue I was trying to talk to an attorney about. And he said that it would take a whole law firm to represent me, and with everybody working just on me. And that he didn't have the ability, and you know, and he would refer me to somebody, but he didn't refer me to anybody, and then he didn't take my calls anymore. So so then, I mean, he was very nice when we met, though. He was very kind while I met with him. But then I talked to some other people, and since then, and I thought I'm just going to focus on this incident, just the police line, and you know, me being held involuntarily, you know, the whole ordeal, or the police ordeal. So I categorized it as police misconduct when they always ask you when you're calling whether what it's in reference to, and I said that it was police misconduct. But of course, if any of your callers can advise me on any of this, I would love for someone to give me advice on this. So I haven't been fortunate enough to get any legal representation. So do you have any questions you want to ask me?
Yes, if there's anybody out there that would like to ask Kim some questions, feel free. Okay, I'd like to ask a few. Why was the policeman so adamant that you had to go to be arrested and go to this facility?
Okay, I believe that okay, I wasn't doing anything legally wrong, of course, and I believe if he would have just he was either going to, you know how I've heard that one of their goals is to get you either institutionalized or placed in jail. Okay, I've heard that, you know, I heard that one of the things is just to shut you up or or whatever. But the other thing is to get you in a facility or in jail. So one thing is if they put you in jail, I would have been out, within 24 hours. It would have been, then I would have, I think it would have been harder for him to do that as well. So I guess he thought that he could bring me into a facility, and I'm sure they knew that they could keep me till Monday, 6 days before I went before the judge. They had to get 2 doctors' signatures within 72 hours.
Okay, is the law different in your state? Because I don't understand why there was a judge involved. You should have come to the end of your 72-hour stay, and they should have said, okay, we've signed the release form, and it appears that you're in, good mental health, and let you go. So I don't understand the judge's involvement.
Okay, my understanding is that, the judge can basically make you, in Tennessee, he can make you stay here 2 more weeks, okay, if he feels you're not safe to go home. But safe to go from involuntary to voluntary. So, but still the criteria for involuntary commitment is homicidal, suicidal, grossly psychotic. It's supposed to be grossly psychotic, or harm to yourself or others. And so regardless, I never met the criteria to begin with, but with his lie that I was going to shoot up the government, that obviously was, and I had a means, I had a weapon, I had a gun, that basically, supposedly was, that is what got me in there, I guess. But the whole thing, I've racked my brain thinking, why that day? And why, do you lie? And, I just didn't get it. But one of the things I wanted to go back to was, before that, I had applied on the DHS, website, the Department of Homeland Security. Their website has a redress. And I had applied, I believe it was in May, the end of May, I believe, or in May, for the redress. And they were not processing it. It said it was or they were processing it at the time. And I ended up after, 3.5 months, I contacted the Inspector General. And within 2 weeks after I contacted the Inspector General, from somebody else's computer, by the way, because things weren't going through on my computer. They were being blocked. And so somebody else's computer, within 2 weeks, it was processed. And I believe that I was off of I was no longer watch listed at that point. Okay? That doesn't mean that there wasn't, my neighbors weren't, or there was somebody who had already been involved that wasn't continuing, but I can tell you that I wasn't getting gang stalked in my neighborhood anymore. That was the most noticeable thing. And things had let up. I would say maybe, my guess is 50%. I wasn't getting bad headaches as much. I was functioning a lot better. Everything was great. Everything was better. Not great, but better. And, I think the frequencies can mess with your moods. They can make you, they can make me wired. They can make me, you feel like I had I didn't have that anymore. So I believe that I was off of it maybe for 2 months. And then this, of course, immediately put me back on it. And, I'm sure I'm considered a domestic terrorist now because of the lies. So then that money, because, there's a huge amount of money that goes to the fusion centers, that goes to the police department, that goes to the community, goes everywhere. So it started the whole funding back up. And they were used to it because my targeting started on steroids. I don't know I may have been slightly targeted, but I didn't know it. But it started on steroids and January 2015. So if you think about it, all that money is going to your police department, fusion centers, everybody, and then it stops maybe, or it stops, and there could have been the corporation I worked for, could have been funding it as well. But it drops significantly when the government's not funding the terror watch list money. So I believe that could have been it. That they were just looking for a opportunity to get me back on it. And the other thing is I was passing out flyers a lot, and I think that I was making a dent. Maybe I was, when I mean a dent, I was taking the flyers and I was going to plazas and I would talk to the person and I'd say, hi, I'm just trying to bring awareness to this new crime, and I would give it to them and ask them to post it on their, if they had a board, or just to pass it on to their the other workers, their coworkers, and spread the word. So I think that when you hit a business and you do that, I think you hit a bunch of people at once, possibly, So I was probably, they wanted me to stop doing that, was one of the things probably. And then if you think about it, how I shouldn't have been so bold about passing it to the clerks at the police office, at the police station, and the dispatcher. So they didn't want the flyers out, obviously, not to the police station.
No, they don't want any correlation between them, the government, and the flyers. They don't want to know this exists. And this, well, they know that it does, obviously. But I will give you an example that I spoke of earlier, and that is the fact that with all this evidence coming forward in Cuba and Japan, they are backing out from under it. They are not admitting anything. And the outcome is going to be the perps themselves are going to be the fall guys. So that's what's going to happen, because the government is not going to admit that they have been targeting their citizens for 40 years, 50 years. They're just not going to admit it. So that's what's going to happen. You'll see.
Right. I think so. That's the case. Now, did I hear correctly the discussion before I came on that the church committee that they didn't make a law? Did anybody get in trouble for that?
I am not sure about that. I will have to research that myself.
Because we know what happened at the bioethics committee, and there've been more than one, and actually TIs have spoken at more than one. I found I know at least two on I think two on the YouTube, and so I'm thinking that what do they do? To me, is it Amy Goodman was over the bioethics committee? I cannot believe she sat there and listened to all those testimonies and did nothing. I cannot believe that. And the way she acted, it was just sitting there like, okay, thank you, next. I just cannot believe that she didn't act alarmed or moved or anything, and then nothing was done about it. Nothing. I mean, that's just, I just cannot believe that. Now, of course, now that was early in the infancy, I guess, of it. So, or earlier. So now things are, I know we've made huge progress. So I don't know, I wonder about the church committee, we have a lot more people now. So, and I know we've made huge progress because they wouldn't have taken me in. I don't believe, I think that the more you're involved, I know you're targeted harder, Frank, because you do the calls, and everybody who's a moderator and everybody who's helping is getting targeted worse. So there has to be, obviously, they're trying to not, it's making a difference, obviously. So.
Yeah, it certainly is. The people that we reach out to and the people that reach out to us has really changed. I think I mentioned it Friday evening that we had an email from Iran. This man was tortured terribly, and he was on his way to Turkey, and he was at the same time, writing an email and sending it. And if anybody would like to get in touch with this gentleman, I have his name, I have his email address, and I have his phone number. So anybody who would like to reach out from America to an Iranian citizen, feel free. And I didn't get any adverse reactions from anyone. I'm sure that the government did not like it, but he is a TI. He's a citizen of Iran, and it just shows you that the citizens of these countries, like Russia, China, Iran, they aren't the ones that are at fault. They're doing everything the same as we are, going to work, coming home, taking care of the children. It's the governments that are doing it. And as long as the governments continue this type of destruction and torturing of their citizens, their government is going to fall apart. Because if you look at the pyramid situation, we'll say the head of Iran, the president's at the top of the pyramid, and all the citizens out from underneath the pyramid disappear, well, there's not going to be much left of that pyramid. So, yes, I agree 100%. Excuse me.
Can I was wondering if I could refer people to a couple videos that I thought
You certainly
I got something from. One of them is, I had even listened to this video, and one time I had recommended it, and I didn't take the advice because I don't know. I guess I just tried to, try to say, tell people what happened and what the facts were and how I was being mistreated and yada, yada, yada. But there is a video that's called Never Talk to Police, and it's on YouTube.
Never talk to
police?
Let
me preface this. Right, and it's on YouTube. Never Talk to Police, and it's very entertaining. It's an entertaining video. But let me preface this by saying I always respected police. I brought my kids up to respect police, and my dad had a restaurant, and he always gave free food to the police. This has just blown me away. So I can't, I'm making a 180-degree turn by even recommending this video. Now, I know there are good police out there and everything like that, so I don't want to say anything bad about the police that are risking their lives and everything. But this video, it says never talk to police. And what he says, and you've heard this 100 times, but in the Miranda rights, it says everything you say can and will be used against you. They never say it'll be used for you, for your defense. It says everything you say can and will be used against you. Okay? So basically what this video tells you is you can't talk your way out of, anything. Basically all you can do is give them evidence to, do something like for instance, a speeding ticket, or whatever. I mean, now they have the guns and the whole bit. But anyway, he says this, and so really the only thing looking back that maybe could have helped me, of course, whatever I did didn't help me. So, I could have not said, and I went there to report a theft report. So, that was the problem. But, if something ever happened and the police were to, I had to interact with them. I would, I would be polite and say, yes, officer, or yes, sir. But that's it. I mean, that is all. Because, you can get an attorney and you have the right to be silent, because in this video, I'll just tell you, he's very entertaining and he goes through so much information. I think he's got lots of credentials. He's a lawyer, and it's excellent. So everybody needs to watch that, and it may give you a different view. It certainly did for me. And then the other one I thought was interesting. Now, this is not uplifting or entertaining, but it's targeted individuals. Why was I targeted? By Bag of Hammers. And basically what is good about this video is he tells you how you can get on the watch list, how easy it is to get on the watch list. And basically anybody can be put on the watch list. And that it's not, it's not your fault. You didn't, you didn't do anything. I mean, most of us have never done anything to get on the watch list. That we're not terrorists and all that. So anyway, and he talks about some laws in there that might, I don't know, help, but it's not. That's not entertaining. It was just it helped me for some reason. But to listen to that, and then the thing I wanted to also encourage everybody to do is to go to the Department of Homeland Security website. And it's under the TSA, under redress, and you go down to the bottom and it says file a complaint /redress, and then you click on that. There's an application, and I think everybody should fill it out. The application acts like you're on the no-fly list, okay? So they'll say, did you have problems boarding a plane? Check off one of these. And did you have problems boarding a plane, or refuse to be ticketed or something like that? But what I checked, I had an SSSS once on my ticket, and I took that off. So I knew. I don't know that everybody is on a watch list, but I know I believe that this could really help most of us to stop the funding, because we know that our neighbors are doing it for the money and stuff. So, most people are doing it I think everybody's doing it for the money. So, the police are, and the fusion centers wouldn't be up and running if they didn't have this money. So, what I recommend is to try to get yourself off the watch list. Now, it may not last or whatever, but I believe that it will definitely, like, at least 50% help you. Everybody, I believe, I hope. And so if you can get off that, and then it asks for 2 forms of identification. I sent my picture. I sent my driver's license and my passport, and you fill out the application. And what I would do is, there's another thing you can check off. If you've never had an SSSS, or with the 4 S's on your ticket, then you would check off other. And under incident, I would just say, I've been unfairly watch listed or whatever, and please investigate, and or whatever you want to put, but just get the process started. You'll get a redress status number, and then you can go to this redress status page and check it. And within 2 months, it should be processed. If you and there's also a form that you have to sign. A form you have to sign too. But I really recommend this because I was going at the angle of trying to stop the funding, and because I knew that if you stop the funding, there wouldn't be an incentive for everybody. And so the only way I thought I could stop it is the watch listing, because that's where the most money, I believe, is coming from, and then the research. So, but being watch listed, like this, I believe this video, the targeted individuals, why was I targeted? Basically, when you're watch listed, they take away all your rights, which they can't, because the Constitution should supersede everything. But they can they can research on you, they can surveil you, they can do everything, basically, if you're watch listed. And is the justification they're using for this. And the other thing is asset forfeiture, okay? Or many TIs talk about things being taken from them, stolen, whatever, they break in, or they get into the house, the car. The asset forfeiture is because you're watch listed. It's like you're treated just like a drug dealer or something. And so that's where they're getting that. And the asset forfeiture goes to the police and all those people too. And I believe I've had things stolen. I had part of my theft report was going to be, I had silver coins, like silver dollars and old coins that had been saved since I was born. We had a big, huge piggy bank. It was a blue pig, and it was huge. And they would put, we'd put money in, whatever, like every I don't know, a birthday and everything. The money would go in this pig. And so then when my mother passed, my brother and I split the money that had been saved, and they're the actual coins that were put in the bank and everything. And they had the dimes with the lady with the torch, and they had the Indian head, and just some great stuff. And silver certificates were even in there. And so anyway, so we split it. Well, that was everything was taken out of that, out of that was stolen. And then I had jewelry stolen. I had lots of solid silver jewelry stolen, and gold. And I just had lots of things stolen. And the thing is that goes to the police. That money goes to the police. They can sell it, they can do whatever. And I found out that I have the Nextdoor app, and there is a sheriff that is listed there selling things. He was selling two items. If I can pull up the name of them, you can see through walls. It's an X-ray thing he was selling. One of them anyway, I found out he owns a pawn shop. His wife's family had a pawn shop, and I drove there to see if my jewelry was there, and I ended up meeting him. He was working at the pawn shop, the sheriff. So I mean, it's just it's just sick. It really is sick how it's all. It just seems so criminal to me. So,
Yeah, what was done to you has been done to others. We have a woman who was frequents the call. Her name is Melissa, and I don't know if you've spoken with her or not, but she was grabbed in front of a grocery store when she was coming out, and her sister had called on her because she had mentioned targeting and so on. So she was grabbed up right there, and it took her months to get out of there and months for us to find her. She was transferred from one facility to another, and this is in Georgia. So Georgia's a lot tougher on that stuff, I think, than maybe where you are, because they just would not let her out, period. And they took her husband in prior to her going in. So it's
Oh my word.
yeah. So she was trying to get access to her husband, and that's when the sister called in when she was in front of the store. So
Well, I don't know what they. I mean, you think about how can you protect yourself? Okay, you could have a tape recorder, but guess what?
yeah.
They took my tape recorder when I was there and didn't and I mean they took all my belongings. So the police actually, when they went through my stuff, he stuck I believe he stuck something in his pocket. It looked like my tape recorder, my micro tape recorder, and in his pocket. So I thought, and I said, "You're stealing something, and from me." And they just don't care. They do not care. And if you're targeted. And then when I was in my film, I haven't gotten it developed because I don't know where to get it developed to see if they could have exposed my film, okay, because I had the old timey camera with the film. So let's say you have a video camera, you have a tape recorder. If they're going to take you and put you in, they take everything from you. So, how do you protect your evidence?
Well, if you have a video camera that is digital, you can take the chip out and hide the chip wherever you can.
Well, trust me, I did not know that I was going to be handcuffed. I didn't even know when he started it that he was doing it. So, I mean, it was just like, so there's no way I would have any time. I couldn't have. I mean, it's very, you're very vulnerable. I don't know.
If you manage to get any proof or anything you might be able to use, you can be assured they're going to try to get rid of it and take it away from you as quick as possible. Some people are calling what happened to you a rollover because, well, number one, they were trying to teach you a lesson for filming and calling and all of that, but the other thing is...
I didn't call, but yeah, going in and reporting my theft. They wanted to teach me I can't report my theft, yeah.
Right, that you don't have any rights. And then the other thing is that the money that they come up with for revenue for rolling you over, they run you through again. They get all this money from the state and get to reapply you, like you were saying, to the list to make sure you're on there. And you said something about a period of time that you thought maybe it had just stopped, but that contributes to, well, you got the local police and authorities doing things to people because they don't have rights. And then you got these other people, the PERT, the intelligence agencies, FBI, CIA, whoever is doing all of this surveillance and torture to TIs. They're telling, I actually read a document that someone managed to get their hands on out of a fusion center. And what they were saying, they were warning the local authorities, now when we're in here doing our job, don't interact with these TIs, because if you do, then we're going to be surveillancing you as well as them. So you don't want to do anything wrong while we're surveillancing them. So if they stop like that, it's because they're switching up. They're gonna back off. The intelligent people are gonna back off. The local authorities are going to step in. so they don't conflict with each other, and they get away with stuff that way, and vice versa. If the intelligence people want to step in, they notify the local authorities. Well, it's time for you guys to back off because we're coming back in here, and they don't want to bump heads and be surveillancing each other when they're doing wrong. In other words,
Right. Right. And you know, it's. I'd like to know how much money they do get, because I have a feeling it's just unbelievable amount of money. The police and the fusion center, you know, to get funding for their their surveillance equipment and all their the little everything new that they need to update in their police department. Probably they're getting all new
Well,
because of the
I've got an
martial arts.
article recently published that states from the government that the fusion centers are useless. And that's straight from the United States government. So I don't know what the half-life of the fusion centers is going to be, but I don't believe they're going to be around. If the government says they're useless, and they're probably paying billions and billions for these fusion centers, construction, personnel, you name it, the numbers are going to be high. So it's.
Frank,
They are useless.
Go ahead,
if you
Lonnie.
look up,
They are.
there is an article on the internet with Senator Colburn and Senator Colby. I think he was from Indiana. He had a Senate congressional hearing on all the fusion centers. And that was a complete investigation with a Senate congressional hearing, no different than the church hearings. And their findings at the end of it all was they could not account for one dime. They had no accounting. They had they would not tell them what they were doing. And this is fact. I mean, they had a Senate congressional hearing, and these fusion centers are being used. Pretty much against us. They're being federally funded, and you can look that up on the internet. You can read a huge article on that. So that's just evidence again.
Whether they're useless or not, they're playing the role upon us. The lady is just talking Ken. She was that was part of the fusion effort. Get them, handcuff them, carry them to a ward somewhere, lie about them.
I know.
That's part of it all right there.
I had a friend of mine who was a nurse.
Go ahead.
And she called the police, and the police came to her home, and she was in Massachusetts, except it wasn't the police. It was a group of men dressed in black uniforms, and they brought her to a room. It wasn't the police station, and they tried to do exactly what they did to you. And she finally argued with them that she was a nurse, and she had a psychiatric exam every so often, and there was no way they were going to sanction her, and they finally let her go. As a nurse, is that true? Are you required to have psychiatric, as part of your job?
I would think so.
No, I've never heard of that. And I don't know. I mean, it's every state is different, but I mean, no, that's not true. I don't understand. I just don't know. Nothing. I look back and I think what could have helped me, and the only thing that could have helped me is if I was with another person, or if I was with a couple other people. I think that would have been the only thing, because they could have taken a recording or a video, but that's really the only thing I think that could have helped me. I know they know who I am. I think they know who I am. I think they know I'm a nurse, that I'm a registered nurse. I think they know everything about me. And nothing would have helped me. And I think just like Richard, you said, that they wanted to discipline me for being more vocal and being more, I was just doing everything I could to get the word out and everything and build evidence. And they wanted to slap me down. And they took, I had pictures of this sheriff's equipment that he was selling, trying to sell. That was infrared was one of them, and the other one was X-ray. Why does he have those guns? Pardon me?
And he was trying to sell those?
On Nextdoor, one for $900, one for $400, and I took pictures of them and had it printed out, the devices, the two pictures he had posted, and I had that printed out, and that was in my. See, I carried my evidence with me in a big black bag. They took that. They took all that, and I had the guy's name, and I had done some research, found out there was a pawn shop, and I went to the pawn shop, and he was there, and I talked to him, and he told me he was part of the sheriff's department.
Kim, I think you found the reason why you were grabbed.
Yep.
That's why you were grabbed. They don't want any kind of pictures of anything.
Well, I had all my evidence, and see now it's just, and I don't, it's just, anyway, the truth is going to come out. I know it is. And, I'm just hoping that, it happens real soon. But, what's sad is you were talking about the police coming to the house. If the police come to my house, I'm not answering the door. I am not opening the door. And what's so sad about it is, I loved, one of my favorite shows was we would watch, is it Car 54? Where Are You? Or whatever.
Yeah.
I love the characters in there, invite the police in for a cup of coffee, how they was the old times were. And like I said, my dad always gave him free food, but then you become targeted and you're like, say absolutely nothing to them. And I'm telling people to watch the video. I'm going to say it one more time just to get everybody to watch it, because it says never talk to police, and it's on YouTube. And then if they come to my house, and this is really sad, after I came home from the hospital, from the lakeside, I told my children that not to open the door if the police can't come. No. That was hard for me to say. And they looked at me like, and they rolled their eyes like, I can't believe you're saying that. And because that was, they're college age, they're like, my whole life I was like, police are, you respect them, they're protecting us. And so anyway, but I will not answer the door. And if you open that door, I heard, basically you lose some of your rights as soon as you open that door. So if you do open the door and talk to them, or if you do want to talk to them, then go outside of your house. Because as soon as you invite them inside your house, you basically, and I'm not saying they would plant evidence, but I'm just saying if they lied about this, they can lie about anything.
Well, generally speaking, you guys might find this a little shocking, but generally speaking, if a person has a degree and works at that degree on a regular basis, then they're typically not very easy to commit. And I just had a thought, wonder how many of our TIs that have been put through that does have degrees and works at those degrees. I know that because a gentleman that works at one of those places told me. He said, well, a lot of people's got to worry about this stuff going on, and he knew it was going on. He works at a facility, a mental facility, and he said, well, I'm glad I ain't got nothing to worry about. I said, why? Because you work there? He said, no, because I have a degree. and that I checked that out, and it is true. But I would, we got a lot of whistleblowers, a lot of people up the ladder that are being targeted, and this makes me wonder how many of those people actually have degrees or do not have degrees.
Well, I'm a registered nurse, so I mean, and I'm not working presently, and
Right.
I was a whistleblower at my previous employment, and I was blacklisted. Basically, and if an RN cannot get a job easily or whatever, that you're blacklisted. Okay. But I don't know if it's I don't know exactly where the blacklist begins or ends, because I do know for a fact that my email is being blocked selectively, because I applied for a job that I was well overqualified for, and she didn't, and I called her, and she said that she sent me an email, and I said I didn't get it, and she goes, well, I'll send it again. I didn't get it. But then I gave her somebody else's email, and they got it. So they got her. I told them their email address, and then she sent it, and they received it. So that's a fact that my email was being blocked. And then I applied for the exact same position, my exact same position. I was, I'll just say it. Okay. I worked at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee. Okay. And I was a medical case manager, and I was a whistleblower, and I applied for the exact same position with United, and I never even got a response back. Okay. So then I went on another computer and applied and it was the exact same position, and I was certified. I had 2 certifications to do that, my job, that weren't easy to get. A lot of people didn't pass them to get the certification. So I applied for the exact same job and from another computer, and I did get a response, but then it was like I don't know, it was like dead in the water after I got the response. So so there's blacklisting, and just like, and that if you're on the watch list, I don't know, I mean, every TI has a different deal, I know that, but mine, the alert, the watch listing alert that goes to the infrastructure, like the restaurants, or you go somewhere, that's all that goes through wherever I go. Okay. And so when you're off the watch list, I noticed that alert system was not going through. Okay. I had contacted my police department a while back, wanting to join the HOA and the neighborhood watch program. At the time, they were getting money. The police department got money to manage the neighborhood watch programs. Okay, so we had one in our neighborhood. For the life of me, I couldn't find out where the meetings were. Nobody would tell me. They sent me to 8 different people, and I could never get anybody to tell me the HOA meetings. Basically, I was told I can't go to them anymore, because our little street does not have to pay the HOA fees, but I knew that they were part of the stalking thing. They were part of it. I found out that my stalkers were getting paid through the HOA association, some of them. One of them was MLG&W, which is Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. And they were stalking me, and they were being paid in one day. They had 3 separate payments given to them in one day. Why does the HOA need to give them 3 separate payments? Okay. The people that were doing my lawn, spraying it for weed and fertilizer, they were using them and paying them to stalk me, because I knew they were stalking me. I knew it when they would come. And so basically, I can't advise I want everybody to try to get off the watch list, because that's going to stop a lot of the funding and that's going to help things. But, they may get back on it like that. So I don't know. But I had a lot of evidence. I had gone to that HOA meeting, wrote down every figure and every payment date and everything. And then they said that I couldn't come anymore. Well, they told me they said that, but they met at Starbucks. So they told me something about, well, you really don't belong here. And I said, do you want me to move over a seat? Because this is a public restaurant. so I don't know. But anyway, they won't tell me where the meetings are. They change them. When I found out when they were, they would change the meetings and only email each other. So anyway, I've been trying to get evidence and information.
Well, I'd also like to emphasize that something else you were talking about, Kim, that once they get you there on this list, you don't have any rights. They can do what they want to. They can take your belongings. They can medically work on you, experiment on you. They can traffic you or anything else that they decide to do. They can just literally, well, you're, I guess, not considered an American citizen anymore, but I beg to differ that thought.
Right, you're exactly right. And whatever law they may, or whatever laws they say that they can do to you, of course the Constitution supersedes this, okay? So,
Right.
If you went high enough, the Constitution, but it's this silly law that they expanded it, because with the Patriot Act, the terror watch list was they just kept expanding it, I believe. And like in the Obama administration, I think they said basically Tea Party people could be on the watch list. I mean, when you watch that video, the guy that posted it, Bag of Hammers, the targeted individuals one, they tell you, he reads you the list. He was a journalist and he got watch listed and blacklisted. So he states the reasons you can be on the watch list, and it's like it's crazy anybody could be on the watch list.
Oh,
so,
yeah, you can be against abortion, or you can be against nuclear
yes.
power, or you
yes.
can buy a certain kind of toothbrush. Yeah.
You can be Republican or you can be Democrat. Okay.
Exactly.
If you're a libertarian, yeah,
it's a financial snowball. Yeah, it's a financial snowball rolling down a hill. They started out small and it got bigger and bigger, but it's mainly about revenue and a way to keep the choo-choo train fed. Right, and there's a policeman, a Memphis policeman that lives in my neighborhood, and you don't know how true it is or whatever, because it easily could be false. But you look on, you can Google people, or what is it? They have you have the white pages, you have all these different things that you can look people up on. Okay, I looked him up, and I believe that, and I know that guy's in on this whole thing. He's doing the surveillance. His whole family's working for him. I walked in on on my neighbor, and I loved the lady. I loved her, okay, and I think she loved me, but whatever. So he I guess recruited the whole family. I went over to see her. She's older. I mean, she's in her 80s, like in the lower 80s, and she's sharp as a tack. And I went over to see her, or I stopped in, and when the whole family was over there, because I wanted to talk to the policeman. This was in the very beginning, and I wanted to know. I just wanted to bring it up. I knew he was involved,
and doing the surveillance and stuff. So I went over to her, and she is looking on a computer at a bunch of pictures, like surveillancing somebody. It was a person's picture, and she would not leave there. And she said that maybe I should call before I come over, which of course in the past we never called each other. We just stopped over or, went out and talked to each other. And this is after all this started. And so who knows what lies were said about me. I'm sure for get her involved, they told her lies. And then, but they're all working. I think that the son that was, I think the child, it was, I know the wife was, she quit her job. I think she's, watching people, and they're making tons of money off of this. And, I just look, and he, okay, this is another thing. I knew that they were involved. The daughter they were stalking me when I'd leave and stuff like that. And then, I don't know what it was, but surveillance was outside my house, and I took my hose and I was spraying my house down to, clean it, and immediately they came into the driveway. Like every single time, I thought it was working, but she's working at watching me maybe. And, but I would hose the house down, and she pulls in the drive every single time. So it messes up somehow the surveillance. And I can't figure it out exactly. But anyway, it's just crazy. It's law enforcement. So they're so involved. It's unbelievable. All right. Richard, you've given such good information. I'm just you've when I hear you on calls, you've just given us tons of information. So I appreciate you.
Well,
whatever
I
the
think
research
you
you
do.
do.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is just simply putting two and two together. If you put two and two together and get five, you got to go back. Something's not right. So I do a lot of that, and until I come up with four, I don't give it up. And but that's terrible to hear that they've done that to you, and many, many more. I think of a lady named Kim Ayers, who is got a story similar. They literally took her out of state, loaded her up, and took her way away, and done some terrible, horrible things to her. And even though she was able at the end of it to get proof that they had misdiagnosed her, she has desperately been trying to, go to court and try to make a wrong right, and they won't let her get near it at all. And what they're doing to us is, I don't hear tell of any of us guys killing anybody or threatening anybody or causing a war or not caring about our country and our countrymen, and we're just labeled and done this to for money, and that's what it's all about. It's just about money. And well, if you if you don't like nuclear power, that's supposed to be a right. If you don't like abortion, that's supposed to be a right. If you don't care about religion, that's supposed to be a right. So they're taking and changing the rules, or trying to, with their corporation laws, and going through the patterns every day to change more and more laws. I picture this little dweeb acting fellow with really thick Coca-Cola bottle glasses sitting at a desk that's very unorganized, papers all over the floor and everything, and he jumps up screaming up and down and hollering, "I got it, I got it, I got it." And everybody fills the room, says, what have you got? And he's like, "Let's make them wear seat belts. They'll hate that, and we'll be able to make up trillion in a year. And that's literally the way they do. They come up with whatever laws they can to, and they always cloak it with, well, this would be more safer. And I'm not saying that seatbelts are, or I'm not saying that seatbelts aren't. I'm just saying that the whole purpose behind it was not our safety. It was about revenue.
I've been watching at Frank, since you had talked about Catherine Horton's videos. I have been watching those, and boy, I mean, there's some stuff that's a big eye opener, and you know, it's you know, you just you know, it seems like that it makes you realize that numbers, you know, getting the word out in numbers, because that's really you know, so I'm glad that the moderators and everybody's doing their part at getting the word out.
Yeah,
So,
well, each one of these people, yeah, each one of these people that we can talk about or call their names and speak of, each one of them, if you stop, just like a while ago when Frank said, well, I think you figured out the reason you were targeted with the information you had, but that's what a lot of these people didn't even realize they were getting on these lists, because they were just simply being concerned citizens. And that's what Mola D sent to Donald J. Trump, was a memorandum, everyday concerned citizens. That's something else for everybody to read that needs to know. That's one of the best writings that I've read concerning TIs at all, ever. And, you know, that being a citizen is how we got on the list. Being a concerned citizen, if we were just going about our usual everyday like robots and train rabbits, then nobody would have never bothered us. But you know, every one of us seems to have in common the fact that, well, if we hear something, we're going to talk about it. If we like it, we're going to say it. If we don't, we're going to say it. And I think they're dividing people into groups, and that's one group, the people that will speak up, and that's us.
Exactly, and I think that if they can divide and conquer, or whatever, I think that I really do think that they're you know, fueling, you know, problems. And if people just knew, I mean, just from me, I've watched Catherine Horton's videos lately, and you know, it seems like this country, okay, everything is to keep the corporations propped up and doing well and profiting, regardless of what and I was pro business too. I mean, it's just amazing how my life has changed, and my view of life of the world has changed. But I mean, I'm happy that there's businesses so we can have jobs. I mean, I'm not a hater in any way. I'm like, you know, I was happy to have a job, but with whatever, you know, business I was working for, and I wanted them to be profitable so I could have a job. And but there comes a point when, at all costs, where you will target people and basically slow kill them because they pointed out a wrong. I mean, that they can't be, you know, that they should die or never work again, or, I mean, it's just it's not even, the corporation may not be doing right, you know. I mean, I know there's many corporations that are, but you know, and when I was the whistleblower, I went to HR. I couldn't go directly above me. I mean, because of the situation, but I went to HR. I didn't go and try to, you know, do legal or contact the media or anything. I mean, I thought that they'd be proud of me, to be honest. I mean,
Well,
that's
you would think
how
so.
naive I was.
Yeah, well, you would
I was
think
so
so.
naive.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you
Hello,
would think
can you
they,
hear me? Hello, this is
Yes.
Sally Ann. Can you hear me?
yes,
Yes.
ma'am, we
I
can
have
hear you.
I have very important information.
Okay.
I saw a video. I follow this guy. He's called John X Army. And he's one of those people that gets inside information. He is announcing that these secret society people are about to turn off the power on everyone. And what they're going to do after they turn off the power is start collecting people and eliminating them. So that's what we're looking at.
Now, what was your reference again?
John
X Army.
You said eliminating them.
YouTube.
What you mean eliminating them? Eliminating who?
You know about the Georgia Guidestones, don't you?
No.
How they want to reduce the population to 500 million people on the earth.
Yeah.
Well, this is their plan. This is the depopulation plan.
So you came to tell us that they're going to
Yeah.
try to eliminate us? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
The devil is a liar.
Well, you know what? They can't turn off my power. They might be able to turn off a lot of people's, but they can't turn mine.
Well, I was looking online. There's all kinds of way to make homemade devices to make electricity. I know I know you can take a microwave oven motor, put two magnets on it, and take the wires from the motor and plug them into one of those extended cord devices, and then you can get electricity out of that.
There's also a thing called a generator and a 500-gallon tank of diesel fuel, so that'll last a good while.
Well, there's going to be a lot of consequences. You know, we won't be able to get gasoline for our vehicles because the pumps will be shut down. There's a lot to think about.
What was the name? Oh, I'm sorry for asking again, but what was the name of the video?
John Jon X Army on YouTube.
Okay. On YouTube. Okay.
And now he's exposing the secret society in that video. The people who are in control. And it's all these people that are using these secret hand signs. I mean, I'll tell you, since that Kavanaugh hearing, and I saw the horrible fabrication of lies from the Democratic Party. I'm telling you, I'm sick. I've lost 10 pounds. Well, that's not the only reason, but one of the reasons why I've lost weight is because I don't like the food I'm eating. It's all got poisons in it. You know? But anyway, that's the news. You should get yourself prepared. Anybody who has the money can go out and get a golf cart battery or a car battery, and that'll give you some power.
Well, Deborah Tavares talks about the energy and the water, but of course you always think it's going to happen a long time from now.
Well, you never know. You never know.
Well, I mean, think about it, right? We're going into the winter, and they're going to shut off our power. Really? I mean, this is the plan. I don't know when they're going to do it, but this is the plan. They're going to shut off everybody's power, and then they're just going to probably track down who's ever on their list.
So you said everybody, people that's not targeted.
Yeah. They want to reduce the population.
Right, but there's a lot of people out here still not targeted. I'm saying you said everybody, so they're going to turn their power off too?
Yes.
Well,
yeah,
the thing to do is always be prepared for whatever. They used to say a good Boy Scout always goes prepared, and well, we always have to be prepared for storms and hurricanes and all that sort of stuff anyway. And as crazy as the world's getting, yeah, it would be the smartest thing to do to try to plan or have a plan, and that's what the preppers do.
There's so much going on. We've got this planet headed towards Earth, and it's supposed to flip the poles when it goes by with its magnetic pole. They're putting lithium in the water now, which is a psycho drug that calms people down and makes them not care.
Well, I imagine.
Well, I think I'm sorry, Frank. Go ahead, buddy.
I'm probably going to say the same thing you are, but I imagine they're putting all kinds of things in the water these days.
Well, I was going to say a little bit different, but I don't think they can put enough in my water to make me not.
Where the hell's Richard?
Well, I don't drink the town water at all. I don't even cook with it. I have a water filter. I have an Alexa Pure. All my water goes through that.
That must help out.
It's delicious. It really is. It tastes like it's coming out of a spring. It's really good water.
They just knocked me right off the call. Anyway, I was going to say that I don't think they can put enough water in my water to make me not care, or enough drugs in my body, or torture me enough to make me not care. It's one thing to be an outcast in your own country, but it's a whole other thing to be a tortured outcast in your own country.
Stop watching me. It's too late for that.
Richard, I was dropped off the call as well at the same time you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unusual for this system. This system doesn't do that. Really unusual.
Well, they do when they want to, Frank. I'm telling you.
Yep.
If you got anything to say,
and you dumb enough to do it.
Is somebody else talking, or what is that?
I think that's Paula. She doesn't realize her mic opens up.
Anyway.
Yeah, he showed pictures going back, I don't know, maybe to the 1500s, paintings of famous people, and they all have the same hand sign in the pictures. And it forms an M or an upside down W with the fingers. And it's the way they communicate with each other.
Oh, really? I just need to change the subject just for a second. Angie's on the call, and she sent me an email on this radioactive triage medallion or a pendant that you'd wear. And it says right on it, avoid UV and sunlight. You have to keep it blacked out. And the way it works is you have a reference color, which is 500 and reference, and you look at the next scale up. And if the next scale up starts to resemble the 1,000 on the other side, you start to really worry. And if the 100 matches up with the 2,000 and the 250 matches up with the 4,000, you're in trouble. Because 100, I believe it's 100 microsieverts will actually kill you and give you cancer and all this other stuff. I'm going to write up a finished document that analyzes this particular device. And
the military.
So it's actually a radiation detector.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
You have to look at it this way, though. Radiation is actually radio waves. Now, I'm researching the difference between actual radio waves and radio waves from radioactive isotope.
Yep.
And we'll find out if this is something useful. Now, Catherine Horton uses a microsieverts meter to measure. And looking at her measurements, if you go by her numbers, she's already fried. I mean, she's up in the 500s or 600s, something like that, all the time. So she's getting physically killed by that. So if she's measuring that, it's got to be right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if she's getting that kind of reading, it's got to be in the same class.
Oh, so sad.
It may be just below, maybe a different scale that
Could
she's
be
using on that meter.
Yeah.
Because like you said, she'd have already been fried. If it had been 500, she'd have been gone a long time ago. But depending on the meter and the scale the meter uses, that would determine that. But the military used to have simple bands that you would put on your arm, and they would just simply change color.
Right.
And depending on the color, you knew to get out of there.
Yeah, this particular device has the same arrangement of colors. It has a reference. I think that's probably a constant. And then it goes to 50 to 1,000, 100 to 2,000, and 250 to 4,000. So it's very, very dangerous if you get up into like the 250 zone. Now, I put a little different light on her picture, and I get a clearer picture of actually what it is and how it works. But those of you who have them, if there's dots on the right side, when the dots go away and the whole thing is black, or red. I think it's red. It's no good anymore.
Right.
And it expires in 2 years. Richard, you could probably tell us more about that than I can.
Well, actually, I don't know much about the pendant, but it sounds like it works about the same way as the mat, the piece you wore on the arms. But it must be battery operated if it's no good after 2 years.
Could be because there's a sensor in the middle. The sensor is in the middle, and it shows that there may be a battery in there.
Yeah. Wonder if is that very expensive, Frank? That's something that would be good for a lot of us to use in our homes, considering the smart meters and the radiation and even the microwave weapons.
Yeah, I'd go ahead and put it in an envelope or something that blacks out light.
Yeah.
And just like leave it on the kitchen table where it's not getting any light, or, some spot like that. And, once every 3 or 4 days, get a look at it, or maybe every day so that you can tell when. But yeah, it's a good idea. But you can send it out after that, and I guess they analyze it.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. It's $19, I think.
Wow. Well, see, that's what I mean. That would be worth its weight in gold, because we would have proof through that device that there is radiation where we're living, and maybe even a level of the radiation. And I think that would be a safeguard for a lot of people. Of course, a lot of us, even if the thing screamed and hollered at us and said, "You got to get out of here," a lot of us have probably not got anywhere else to go. But it kind of reminds me of what I was talking about with the hospital monitors. All the hospital monitors, they monitor everything about your body the whole time you're laying there: your brain, your heart, your breathing, your blood pressure. If we had something like that we could wear on our wrist that would not only monitor but record all of our body responses, then that would be proof also. But that's why I was thinking about the locket you're talking about. That would be a big thing.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon, so it's easy to get. You could probably have one in a couple of days, So
yeah.
What is it called?
They won't.
It's called Rad Triage 50.
Yeah.
I'd recommend getting it, and I'd like to get my hands on a microsievert meter too, similar to the one Catherine has.
Yep, absolutely.
And Tommy Lee has a microwave meter, and this is the gentleman that I spoke of that points the meter straight up and gets, like bang out readings. And he points it north, east, south, and west, or actually 360 degrees, and gets nothing. But if he points it up or at several degrees in either direction, he will get readings. And the reason he's getting readings in, degrees off center is because the satellite is not directly overhead. So if the satellite was directly overhead, you would get zero all the time. Yeah, all the time. So I would say that he is. It's a very good video to watch. It's on our last newsletter, and it's over a period of several months that he does this video. He'll do a segment and then stop and wait till he's like on an airplane. That's another one. And it's quite a video, and he's got quite a few videos that are good. Again, his name is Tom Lee. Tom Lee. Yeah. I'm going to start doing videos shortly myself. And let me unmute Paula. Paula, the reason we muted you is your mic was open, in case you're listening right there.
What
Can
what
I
are your
just
videos?
can I just say one more thing about this lights out plan?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure why they would do this. It doesn't make sense. They have so many plans, destructive plans going on, you know. I just don't know, you know.
Well,
Why they
the lights out plan, I agree with, but I'll tell you what it might be. It might be an EMP strike, and that'll be lights out all over the country. Number one. Number two, it'll take the U.S. 30 years to recover from it. If somebody,
Yeah, I
years.
know. You
30
know, but
years.
this is
Wow.
what's strange. I heard that last Sunday, a week ago, Sunday morning, the military out in the Pacific Ocean shot down an EMP rocket that came from China and was headed for the U.S.
Do you have a source on that, Sally Ann? I'd love to read it.
It was a video, and it actually showed them shooting it down.
And it's an EMP rocket?
Yeah, China sent a missile, or you know, that was an EMP, and the Navy shot it down with a laser.
Okay. Yeah, that's if it's an that's kind of serious, because an EMP missile is actually a nuclear device, and it's designed to go off 20 miles above, and it will put lights out everything down below.
Right, everything. It'll just knock out everything.
See, the problem, the reason I said 30 years is, number one, I read it a few times by a gentleman who's very well known in literary forums. And it's because there will be nothing left. 2/3 of the population will be gone. Your biggest enemy is your neighbor, wanting your food and what else you have that he needs. They'll be rioting in the streets. The nuclear power stations have enough diesel fuel to last 3 months. Now, how are the trucks going to get to them? They're diesel, but unless they're pneumatic start, they're not going to make it there, because if they're electric start, anything electric is dead.
Right.
Everything. Generators, you name it, it's dead. An EMP strike has no polarity. So it hits a copper coil and just goes every which way and burns it up. It's a track.
Now, Frank, can I ground my truck so that it won't get knocked out?
Nope, you can't. Not with a strike like that. No, you can't.
No, but you can buy certain components to the truck and replace those components that get burned up. There's only a few parts of a vehicle that are cold. One of them is the starter and solenoid and alternator and some of the electrical system, but you can replace those.
Yeah. What about the computer that most cars have today, though?
Well, yeah, if you got a computerized car, you're just out of luck.
Yeah. Give me an old, an old Chevy truck out of the 60s, and you'll be all set.
There you go. Yeah.
Drop a diesel in it.
Exactly.
My truck's not computerized.
Yes, it is, Sally Ann. It's got a computer somewhere.
Well, I don't even have power locks.
Oh, that's really got nothing to do with it. Is it fuel injected?
Yeah.
What model is it? What year?
2004 Dodge Dakota.
Absolutely computerized.
Yeah. Controls the fuel injection, among other things. It controls just about everything in the car.
Mm.
But yeah.
And I can't ground it.
No.
I can't ground it.
No. If you ever watched War of the Worlds, not War of the Worlds, The Day the Earth Stood Still, one of the demonstrations was to turn off the power in the UK. And nobody could do anything.
Polarity.
Yeah. And whatever they did. But now it would be an electromagnetic pulse. And from a nuclear device 20 miles up, that's the only way I know of producing one large enough to wipe out a country.
Right. I've heard that that's what would happen. There's all kinds of things going on. I mean, they want to, it's like, I don't know if you've heard of this before, but like the Twin Towers, they had planned that and put it on our money. It was like on the $10 bill or the $20 bill. And there's two more, and like, what else was on there? All these like false flags have been planned for years, and they're planning on setting off a nuclear weapon in the ocean outside of New York, and it's supposed to cause huge waves that will destroy the whole city. And they also plan on blowing up the Boulder Dam.
Okay. Okay, I've got a video here. Air Force confirms electromagnetic pulse weapon. May 25th, 2015.
Frank, can I just ask one question?
Sure.
Is that the one from China?
I'm not sure of the origin.
I think it was last Sunday.
Go ahead, Paula.
Kim, are you still there?
Kim?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, Kim. I got on the line late, and I heard you saying about filling out something for the watch list. So are you off the watch list?
No, I'm back on. I'm because of my incident and what the police lied and said I said. I'm back on it.
Okay, so you was off.
I think I was off for almost 2. I mean, they don't tell you, but I think I was off for 2 months maybe. And you know, I didn't have my neighbors, you know, doing their stuff, and I don't think that alert system was being sent out about me. So I think you know, maybe 50%.
Okay, because I want to do what you explained. Can I give you my email and you could send me?
Yeah. Well.
Okay.
I've tried to send the application form, and Frank, do you care if I just tell her?
No.
We're on the website right now.
No, that's quite all right.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, you're going to go to the Department of Homeland Security website. Are you on the computer now?
No, I'm going to get a pen though.
Okay.
Can you give me 1 second?
Sure.
Okay, 1 second.
So you were saying that was 2015, Frank?
Okay, I have a pen.
Okay. So you go to the Department of Homeland Security. Let me put that on. I'm going there now to tell you each step.
Okay.
Okay. They actually changed their website recently, but okay. And then at the top, I would just put because I know where to go. I would put let's see, redress. I would put TRIP redress. Let's see what that says. Hold on. At the top for search. Okay, then it's going to bring up a bunch of things, and then it says okay, then it says I'm just going to click on the Traveler Redress Inquiry Program. And that's what the TRIP stands for, Traveler Redress Inquiry Program.
Okay.
And then, so then it brings me up to that site or that area, and it says, getting started with DHS TRIP. There's a plus sign on the right. I'm going to click on that. And then below that says, go to DHS. There's like a bullet. The second bullet says, go to DHS TRIP to file a complaint / apply for redress. Click on that. And then you just go down to the bottom and press next. And then there's the application. And it starts off weird. So you're gonna think, oh, this isn't right. There's an area that says incidents related to flight, okay, because they think that you weren't able to board a plane or something. Okay. Down below there's like little spaces. It says flight day, airport, airline, flight number. I left everything blank, and then I highlighted or I checked the domestic flight because I had a domestic flight. But if it doesn't apply to you, then don't even put that. I would just press other if you didn't fly, and then the next thing I'd probably put other, and then it says incidents details, and I would just write up whatever that you're on the watch list. You like this investigated, you're unfairly placed on the watch list. Please investigate this. And I'd go through and then there's another spot that says incident details, and I would write in there. But you're going to find things that it'll say like your attorney. You just leave everything blank that doesn't apply to you, and send it in.
Okay.
And you're going to need a copy of 2 forms of picture ID, like a passport and the driver's license, or I think it gives you some options, but. So you'll have to go through there and find out what 2 forms, and then make sure there's an area that you have to sign towards the end, and make sure you have that too signed, and then you can scan it and email it to them, and they'll send you that they accepted it. But I would also print everything out and send it certified, and then keep a copy for yourself, because there's a chance that my husband mailed one in just a regular mailbox, and they said they didn't get that. And then I mailed stuff in, and expect to have problems getting it through.
Send it where?
How did you, hold on 1 minute. How did you get it in when you did it the first time? Did you mail it or scanned or emailed it?
The first time I emailed it to him, but then, I didn't have a scanner at home, so
you mailed it or emailed it?
Then I mailed the whole thing with my ID. Okay, they don't want you to duplicate it, but what the hey, you're gonna just get it there however you can. But my husband put it in a regular postal mailbox, and it didn't get there. So you're gonna either have to mail it. I would do a couple different ways. I would scan it. I would scan it and email it if you can, if you have somebody that can help you with that, or if you can do that. And because you're going to have the photos, the copies. And then I would send it certified mail as well. But you can also, FedEx has just a little bit more than that. They have a there's not a time frame. It can take, you could say it takes, you can take as long as you want, over 4 days or whatever, and you can have a signature with FedEx, and it's a little more than the certified. But so do either one you want. I kind of think that FedEx is more likely to give you this, to do it even than the U.S. Postal Service, but that's your choice. So
I can help you out.
If you have a copy. Go ahead.
I think the Postal Service is dirty.
Yeah. Where are you sending this to?
Okay. On that website, it tells you where to send it. Let's see, or let me go back at one and I'll tell you. It's going to be to DHS Traveler Redress Inquiry Program. It's on that first page, so you'll see it. And or TRIP, TRIP. It has in parentheses 601 South 12th Street, TSA-901, and then Arlington, Virginia 20598-6901. But when you print out that app,
was that the military base? Was that the military base?
I don't know, but you try to call them to see if they received it and everything. They don't. I mean, you have to talk to the TSA. TSA, you can't even talk to the DHS in this department. I mean, it's just a racket. They make it so hard. I mean, they obviously, and okay, when you email it, the email instructions are there too. If you email them, like you don't get a notice that they received it, you can email trip@dhs.gov. And, but just if you don't get something back within a couple days that they received it, I would think, certainly within 5 days, working days, they should have notified you that they received it by email, replied on your email. And then within 2 weeks, I believe, you should have a redress number from them by mail if you send it by mail. So
how do you address them?
redress
you just
number.
write them a letter and say, excuse me, I think I'm been put on a list?
No. You go to the site and you print off the application. It's let me see what's the top. Department of Homeland Security, THS Traveler Redress Inquiry Program. And then there's an application. You can download the application, and you just go to the bottom of the page. It has the email address and the mailing instructions, and then you go to the next page, and then the application starts. Now, the application doesn't seem to make sense, so,
And why would they think that you would be doing this? Could it work its way in the opposite direction? They think, wow, what does she think? Even if I know I'm probably on a list, but could it come to backfire on you? Because I can get on any plane. It's not easy. Most of my planes are canceled and then redirected.
Right, you're being harassed. That's the same thing. That's the same thing with me. Okay, have you ever seen S's on your ticket?
S's?
Yeah, 4 S's.
I don't know. I never noticed.
Okay, well, it really doesn't matter. If you've never flown before, you still could be on the watch list and not. So this, to me, is irrelevant.
All the time, and I want to keep flying. It depends on when my money runs out. But I did once. I had a surgery done, and then I was in Atlanta, and they said, "Oh, you're not safe to fly." And I was like, "What?" And they had called all these other people, and they came in, and I had to call my doctor. They made me call my doctor to see if I was okay to fly. And she said, "Yeah, I never got that from anyone before." So And usually the scanner thing, I can avoid the whole entire scanner. Like that thing you walk through, usually take me aside to scan me.
Yeah, they do. Okay, well, there's options on here. It says you can check off I was denied boarding. I was subjected to additional pre-boarding screening by officials, agents when going through an airport security checkpoint. I was delayed by an official agent during my travel experience. I received an SSSS on my boarding pass. I was unable to print a boarding pass directed to ticket counter or other. And then you're supposed to explain your incident in details. But, you know, you can be watch listed and never fly. So don't think that if you don't fly, if you've never had a problem, that you can't fill out the application. I would just fill it out. I
don't want it to backfire on you, you know.
Well,
like it hasn't happened
right.
so far, knock on wood. I've had flights canceled and, like you said, been redirected and all the other stuff. But, you know, at least I can get on.
Right. I mean, I don't think it would get worse. I was just, you know, I mean, if you don't stop, this is how I look at it. If you don't stop some of the funding, everybody's just having a heyday making money on you, you know?
Yeah. Right.
And don't you want to stop? So it's not going to stop 100% of the funding, but well, at least it didn't for me, because I have a corporation probably, or a business probably funding it too. But if you think the money just comes from the watch list, then you could at least, and you know what, they may try to put you on it again for some dumb reason, but
I know.
You know, maybe,
know,
you know, at least.
Do you know if you're on? How do you know?
Because of targeting, I knew. And I knew that
any other way?
The only way. No, other than my SS, I remembered my SS, and then they one time my husband didn't even have to take off his shoes when he went through. We were, I don't know, I think we were flying into either Boston or New York, and he didn't even have to take off his shoes. And of course, they would never let me through without taking off my shoes. And they always, I mean, you know, I just knew that, I guess I had that, I knew that the main reason I knew I was on it is because of my targeting.
Right.
The second way is, like, I do remember.
Full proof, like walking into a police office, and I know they say not to do this. It's like, am I on some kind of list? They say that's
You'll
a
never
big
know.
no.
Nobody will tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody will tell you. They won't even tell you that they got you off the watch list. You'll just notice you're not being, you know,
gang stalked.
That things have decreased.
Yeah.
But
so
you go ahead.
You wasn't stalked anymore, or watched through your walls no more?
Things decreased maybe 50%. I really believe I still think I was under surveillance. I mean, how do you know for sure that it ever stops? You know, I don't
exactly.
It ever stops completely.
I'm watched so much. I'm watched so much that the dead can see me. That's how bad I'm watched. I swear to God, Michael Jackson can see me. If the dead can see me, that's how I'm watched. I'm watched. Everything, everywhere.
I think you would see at least a decrease in the planes, and if you're getting any air stuff, I think you'll see a big decrease in that. You in other words, you still may be, but you won't notice it. Like, it won't be, you know, it won't be as much.
As obvious. It wouldn't be as obvious, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, like I said, I think well, actually, I said two sources. I think there's three sources for me. So what I think is, I think that this one I believe is repair a watch list, okay? A watch list. And I think that's where the most money comes from. The second most money, I think, comes from research. And it's a close second. Okay, all the research, the people that are making money on you from that, okay? And then the other one would be if, let's just say, somebody has a vendetta on you and they're really wealthy and they're funding it, or a business or a corporation or whoever, they could be funding it too. So it's my opinion. I mean, I'm not the expert. That's what I tried to narrow it down to. So let's say there was 3 funding sources. Well, I went to all of my doctors and every hospital and everything that could have had any of my information. And I did, Connie had talked about this, and I believe it's true, is the HIPAA form that you sign gives them okay to do research on you. So it says somewhere, yes, it does. When you sign that, you think it's to keep your records private and it's all good for you. It's signing that they can do research on you. You're signing that they can do research on you. No. And so what you need to do is you can go online and find a form, and you can really make up your own form. But I went online and found to revoke your HIPAA authorization. So I pulled off I revoked my HIPAA authorization effective immediately. I do not, and I wrote in, I do not give permission for any research, any of my PHI, personal health information to be used for research. I do not give consent. You write that on there. I wrote that in by hand because I couldn't find a form that said that. I gave it to all my doctors, the hospital, and everything. Now, if you have insurance through whoever, you need to send it to your insurance company as well, because they can do research too on you with your information. So I gave that to everybody. So I thought, okay, at least there's, and I don't think they ever stopped with the research, to be honest. I think I just stopped maybe the information from getting to them, but I think if you have medical records in your house, they're probably, I don't know if everybody's experienced this, but they come in and break in and steal them and maybe bring them back after they've scanned them or whatever. So they're getting, and they lie, I think. I think that when they do those updates on the research, they're supposed to do updates. I think they lie half the time too. They may have only gotten your information once, but they're going to lie whenever that they have to update it so often for research, for the trials and stuff. So anyway, that's one way I did it, is I revoked my HIPAA authorization. Okay, that's one way to stop at least your authorization for the research. And then the second thing is this VHS redress. And so I thought, well, okay, then I'll do that. And then the third one, I don't know. How are you going to do it? How do you know who else might be funding it? That's what you have to figure out, I guess. So, but that's what I did. I thought I got to stop the money, because they're only doing it for money, I believe. I mean, they may not like you. They may not like you, but they're not going to get all these people involved because they don't like you. I don't believe.
Ramola D had.
Go ahead.
Ramola D had your interview on Facebook. And
really?
On your interview? Yeah, and she said if anybody was involuntarily hospitalized, to email her and with a little short story. So I did. And she responded back and said she wants to talk to me.
Paula, are you from Tennessee?
No, I'm from Boston, Mass.
Okay. That's okay. I'm sorry. There was somebody here. There was somebody that contacted her that had a problem with the Memphis Police Department, and asked if it was the Memphis Police Department, and what location or whatever that I had the problem. But mine was Collierville Police Department. But Memphis is way, bad. So.
Are you with Dr. Black, right? You're in the same place with Dr. Black?
I'm the same state. Right. I'm in the same state with her. She doesn't live in this area. She lives about 3 hours, maybe a little more than 3 hours away, but probably 3.5 at least. But anyway, the police department here, I live in a suburb of Memphis, but the ACLU just has been, I have to find out if it's finalized, but they took the Memphis Police Department to court because there were people that were activists that were, they didn't say targeted and they didn't say watch listed, but there was a minister that was helping women that were abused, and there were activists that, how they knew that they were, well, in my opinion, targeted. They didn't say the word targeted, but if they went to the court building, or the federal building downtown, and the what was it, the court steps, they wouldn't allow those people to go up without a police escort. Everybody else could go up there without a police escort unless you were on a list, as they said. And it was a targeted list. So they went to court and they lost that. There were a couple different, I think, cases, but they ended up losing. So the Memphis Police Department was watch listing people, and they proved that through that issue. And so that's what they were targeted. That's what it was. And some form of targeting. I don't know if it's at our level or not, but I bet it was. And but anyway,
Wow.
the ACLU took them, and they won. I think it's over, and I think they won. I don't know if it had multiple stages where they had to go to court or just one, but I saw one where they won. So I don't know if they had to go back to court or not, but for other issues. So we know the Memphis Police Department is corrupt, okay, with this stuff. We know that, and I know somebody else that went to them, and it was total. It was, so I know that. Well, Collierville, we're just a suburb, so I know now I know Collierville's involved. I didn't know for sure, but I think everybody's involved. I don't think they have a choice if they want to be or not. I don't know that they. I mean, they would be targeted if they went against it. I believe most of the people. I mean, I don't know how you go against until they change the laws or do something like that. I don't think that most of these people they could quit their job and find another profession. But I don't know what their choices are. I would say find another profession.
Yeah. That's kind of funny, a perp finding another profession,
Well, I meant the police more than.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, you can call them a perp. I've been harassed. I've been followed by them. I've had them point something at me too. But
I think police in different states are different, because police in Massachusetts are quite different. I don't know if that's true 100%, but in Arkansas, I know it's a lot different.
Wow. Well, here it's bad. So
Yeah.
in the Memphis, all I can speak for is the Memphis area. Memphis and my suburb is all I can speak for. So, as the laws, I mean, we have 4 states that have laws on the books.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the police I would think
like
would
in
have
Arkansas?
to.
Well, Ashley is from Arkansas. She's having a real bad time right now. That's why she's not on. But she says that in Arkansas, it's crazy. It's like the Wild West, So
Wow.
She'd be on Mike's call.
she's trying to do as little as possible, and I guess Mike's call fits her schedule because his calls are always at 6. instead of
okay.
9.
I thought I heard her tonight.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you did.
Oh, they're in my phone. You hear me echoing?
Yeah.
They're in my phone. They so nosy. They some nosy people.
Oh, for sure. Richard either got knocked off or decided to quit for the night. I'm going to quit.
Is it after 12?
Yeah, it's after 12. We'll give it.
He probably went on Ryan's.
Yeah. Well,
he goes on Ryan at midnight. Mm-hmm.
If it's 12:15 and we don't have any more people coming in, I'm going to call it a night because I was operated on today and I don't feel all that hot anyway. That's probably.
You was?
Yeah.
Are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing fine.
Okay, good. Well, I'm
you
glad
should have told us.
It was good.
Oh yeah, I'm fine. No problems. Little painful to sit down, but
I'm over here in eastern Texas and in a small town, and I don't get any problems with the gang stalking.
Lucky you.
Yeah. I don't have
that was
any
a charge statement.
Yeah, I don't have any gang stalking myself. Some people do, some people don't.
I was made to go to a seminary by a voice of God, so I feel like I'm part of an underground Mason. They're trying to bring people up in Christianity that will, respond and obey a certain voice of God weapon. But I'm trying
that might be our cue.
I'm trying actually to move closer to my mother. She's like up in New York, and personally, I don't feel so safe in New York after certain things I've experienced. I was wondering, how's Western Massachusetts? Is it working out okay for targeted individuals?
Western Massachusetts? Well, we have a few TIs out there, and we have one for sure, and that's Kate Ryan. She's out there, and I really don't have a cross-section of Western Massachusetts. There's not enough people reporting in from out there.
I wonder if those mountains are any help on the southwestern corner.
Could be. The Berkshires? Well, from what I understand, and it's getting stronger all the time, I don't mean the signal, but the idea that this is coming straight down. So if the satellite is to the north, we'll say, if the satellite is to the north, it will be several degrees off, and it will be coming towards the mountains, and you will be protected. So it depends where the satellite is in relation to Western Mass. That's where the mountains will help you.
I got to figure that out.
Yeah, we got to find out where the satellites are that are hurting everybody. And they're geosynchronous orbit, so they're not moving. They're staying stationary. It's not like the space station that's, in an outer orbit, elliptical. It's much different.
It's nice to join your call for the first time.
Oh, it's great to have you, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to take a few minutes and, comment on Kim's statement, or that'd be great. Kim Straub, she actually, tonight's call's about TIs being grabbed for no reason and imprisoned. And Kim was in front of a police station passing out flyers, and all of a sudden the policeman came out and said, well, are you hearing voices or something like that? Wasn't it Kim? And Kim said no. And from there, it led to her being handcuffed and taken off to a psych unit. So, we've had a lot of TIs that's been done to, and a lot we don't know about. Maybe hundreds, maybe thousands. We don't know. Because a lot of TIs, I'll tell you straight up right now, went to these facilities on their own because they did hear the voices and they thought they were nuts, so they checked themselves in. And that is true times hundreds.
I think that their biggest top priority after making money on this research arms race with Russia and China is to discredit us.
Oh.
Like, it's an important part of the layering of lies is discredit us. And that, for me, I went in there and I was talking to a gentleman in Idaho, and he was being sleep deprived, and he would go to the VA and he's like, I just need a place to sleep. And they were like, well, okay, we're going to take you to the psych ward. He's like, no, don't do that, And he was talking about how when you try to get help from them, they keep drilling you. Do you want to hurt yourself? Do you want to hurt someone else? Are you thinking about, And he's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And then, I keep hearing a lot of stories. There was that one lady who used to be a lawyer, and she had a very creditable life, and she had horrible. The more creditable life you have, the more you'll suffer in this case. Like, they'll strike more violently, it seems. I mean, I don't know. You seem to have some friends, and not be too harassed. I was having drones shoot at me through the window with some kind of fluorescing light, I think, for imaging the brain. And a Christian friend of mine said, like, oh, we'll file a report. And, well, sure, I'm an American citizen. Why shouldn't I? And it blew up in my face. I mean, all I did was hand him like 50 pages of information on targeting. And yes, it did include a little bit of detail on B2K. But I didn't really tell him much about voices. All I talked about was being shot at in the head by a drone repeatedly at night. And all of a sudden, I guess the police department here in Henderson, Texas, it's a small town, and some of the detectives go to my church and they started gossiping me, and they actually got the pastor to ask me to lay low and go to a different church for a while.
Really?
Because, they showed up that Sunday. They started calling me a possible shooter. And like, what? Like, where did you get that from? Meanwhile, it was me and my report for my protection and my safety while being shot at by drones. And then they're like, oh, he's a possible shooter. And they showed up at church in police cars and just started like, it was this gossip fest at church.
Wow, that sounds almost like the treatment you would get at a Mormon church. Mormon church are all about business and money and keeping a close eye on their parishioners. And if I'm wrong about that and there's a Mormon in the audience, please let me know. But I know this woman who was taken in by the Mormon church, and they came to her house and they gave her everything, all this food, and helped her out and all this stuff. But I guess payback was really hard. If she wasn't in church on time, they went looking for her, and it goes on and on and on from there. But yeah, enough about religion. At least for me, anyway. And Kim, like I say, is her topic is the topic for tonight. And if anybody has anything to add to that, including Kim, go right ahead.
Does this mean like just the discreditation, like being taken to psych wards against our will? Or,
right. They're trying to stain your record so that you're, you're deemed a nut, we'll say. They try to discredit you. And they'll try to undermine everything you do that's positive. They try to undermine you as a person, and they beat you up verbally 24 hours a day or all the hours you're awake. So it's not cool. Yeah, V2K and R&M seem to be coming closer together in terms of being one particular item.
Mine's really bad.
Yeah, mine too. You know, all the time I'm doing the call, I have the chatter, in the background. Oh, they call you every name in the book, and then they call you something that I haven't heard of yet.
Do you ever use Dave Case's CD?
Oh, yeah. I have, let me see. I have the first one that I can't find, and I've got his latest one. It's like 54 tracks or something like that.
Yeah. I made his website.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, that was nice of you.
He helped me out. I was really struggling.
Well, I'll tell you what. My phone number is 508, if you got a pen.
Okay.
508-857-8334. Call me anytime. If you feel like you're, backed into a corner, just give me a call. I'll talk to you.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, it's the best relief I have is talking to people.
Yeah, well, that's what this is all about. Talking, sharing information, sharing websites, sharing friends, putting people in the same state together. That's what it's all about.
Oh, that website is anti-tinnitusv2k.com.
Anti-tinnitusv2k.com.
Laura said you're a great person to talk to, but you're awful busy.
Anti-T-I-N-N-I-T-S. Okay, I'll give you my email address, and you might want to scour the site a little bit of ours. It's targetedmassachusetts.org.
Today I downloaded every document and patent.
Oh, you did? Good for you. That's just what I like to see people do, because it's going to be loaded with a lot more. I just put a few more up there, I think 4 or 5, something like that, the other day. But I'm always working on it somewhere to try and make it better. But my HTML skills are very, very rusty. I'm used to the old ways. You can probably see it in the site.
I really like your site.
Oh, great.
Seems like because JavaScript is a lot of control technology.
Oh. Thank you. Oh, Angie left. I don't know if she got booted off or... Yeah, see if you can go to the contact page and drop your information in there. That way there I can text you when we're going to have a show, and I can also... You'll get the newsletter every Sunday.
That'd be great. Okay.
Yeah, and if you get the email address to me, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and forward yesterday's newsletter to your email address. So you can just text my number. I don't know, if you're still up at, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, just go ahead and text me. It's all right. Don't bother anybody. Yep.
Yeah, the V2K is.
Yeah, V2K is nasty.
I have an AI chatbot all the time. It wants to build itself into my thoughts, like.
Oh yeah.
It kind of it voices what I'm thinking. It tries to if I have a question, it tries to answer it for me. It's really horrible.
Well, okay. What I will tell you is, there's 2 of them, and they throw this stuff back and forth until they make you think that it's yours. It's really creepy, but I will also forward you my idea through my own experience of what they do. And that's without any outside interest at all, because I did it before I found out that I was a TI, so I think. But I'll have to check. But I was sending documents to the FBI in 2012, and I went over state lines purposely to Rhode Island to go to the Rhode Island Providence FBI field office. So that's the first one I went to. And I went in and I talked to them up at the counter, and they said, well, you don't have enough evidence yet. When you do, come back and see us. So I'll be seeing them. And I've been writing Boston. I've been writing Washington. I've sent CDs full of documents to Washington. I've sent CDs full of documents to Boston. Everywhere. So that's what you got to do. You got to work at it. And try Homeland Security. They're a little softer. And one person.
They flew over my house for 3 days straight one time.
They did.
Well, it was forest fires, but somebody plotted their flight path for the refuel and takeoff, and I was trying to digitize this book of a priest that was murdered in Honduras and pump it out there, and they did something to me when the V2K got this bad. There was a specific night, and I don't want to take over the channel, but they literally flew over my house for 3 days after that in New York during the summer 2016 fires at Minnewaska State Park, and they were taken off from Stewart Air Force Base. I'm not saying not all of DHS, but somebody was making those flight paths for the pilots.
Yeah, there's another woman who sent a letter to the Department of Energy, and it was forwarded to the CIA. So that was interesting, and she got, I think she got some kind of letter from the CIA back to her. So that worked really well. But we're negotiating with 2 television stations now. And one television station actually is supportive of TIs and shares TI posts in LinkedIn. So we're making progress with the right people. But I tell you what, my butt's killing me, so I'm going to call it a night.
Okay.
And
sorry I came so late.
Oh, that's
One
okay.
question, is Laura having a call after yours, Frank?
What's that?
Is Laura from Colorado having a call after yours?
You can check.
Okay.
She wasn't in tonight.
Okay, thanks.
Love you all. Night now.
You too. Thanks for
Good
the call.
night.
God bless.
Love y'all.
Thank you, Kim.